Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, and we're so delighted to have you join us today. Thank you so very much. We're focusing on getting more self-reliant, a greater degree of food security, and being prepared for emergencies. And in particular, as my sister Cindy and I are writing this book, we, in our minds constantly, is what would we do if? And so one of those if situations has turned out for Jim and me to be, what would we do if we had to cook either outdoors or in our kitchen off-grid? What would we use and how would we do it? And so we have been really practicing that. One of the things that we would use is cast iron cookware. Because of the properties of cast iron, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, it makes it ideal for challenging cooking situations. And so that is exactly what we're going to talk about today as I share my learning curve on how to refinish and season cast iron. So we will be back in just a moment. Just a little bit about the science of cast iron. For the past several weeks, I have just immersed myself in research on cast iron cookware. And there's so much conflicting information out there. Now, I'm going to call myself a novice, and what I'm going to share with you today will certainly not agree with everyone else out there. A lot of people have been very successful doing things very differently than the way that I'm going to show you. I have failed a lot in the past several weeks trying to get my pots back in order. I've tried one thing and then another thing and then another thing, and all I have done is made my skillets in particular worse and worse and worse. And so, digging into the science, I now know why. I love knowing the science behind things because then the explanations make so much sense to me. And so here is now what I know about that process. First of all, we do need to use some type of fat to season the iron. Iron by itself will rust. It will even flash rust almost before your eyes if moisture gets to it and it is unprotected. And so protecting it with fat of some kind and then cooking with it with fat of some kind will allow a beautiful patina, and it will become non-stick without the same chemicals that other manufactured products have. So in order to understand that, we need to understand what the molecular structure of fats is. First of all, fats are filled with single molecules, and we're just going to let this paperclip represent a single molecule. All of these oil molecules just bump up against each other. Now, what happens when we apply heat at the right temperature and for a correct duration, it changes this molecular structure. Instead of being single molecules, it becomes great big fat molecules all strung together, and they become as hard as a rock. This is called polymerization. So the inside of our pots become polymerized. Now, what I did was polymerize that oil at a high temperature, but without paying attention to other things that I needed to do. So what I have had to do with my pots is strip them down to the bare metal. Now, most of the references I looked at said that cast iron is porous. A couple said no, it isn't. Some said it's a great conductor of heat. Most said no, actually it is not. Now, from my perspective, here's what I think based on everything that I have read. Yes, I think iron is porous. No, it is not a good conductor of heat, which gives us the marvelous quality of once it does get hot, because it does not conduct that heat off into the air or elsewhere, it holds the heat. And because it has that quality, then it is a very different way of cooking. I found one person who his methodology reflected exactly what my newfound knowledge about the science of cast iron is. And so I am following him. So far, so good. Now, I am stripping some of my pots down to the bare metal. And so I have used two methods. Yesterday, and I'm going to insert this clip because we filmed it, I used oven off on 3 of my pots. Yes, oven off. This gentleman also used oven off and had that as one of his methods and had really great results with it. The other thing that he does is that he puts his cast iron skillets in his oven and then runs the automatic cleaning cycle, and it also strips it down. Now, I'm looking at one of my skillets right here. This is my 12-inch, and last night before we went to bed, I put it in the oven and turned on the automatic cleaning cycle. It went for 3 hours, and then I let it cool down completely in the oven, and I took it out this morning. Now, it looks pretty awful, but I'm going to put on rubber gloves because this is going to be a big mess, and we are going to wash it. And I'm thinking that I'm seeing some of the bare metal there, and I am hoping that some of the rusty looking stuff will actually wash off. I'm going to be using steel wool and warm tap water. I'm also going to be using dishwashing detergent. So yes, dishwashing detergent. So that is exactly, the first thing I'm going to do is just rinse to see how much of this I can get off. A lot of that rusty looking stuff did come off, but I think most of it is going to have to be scrubbed off. And I may have to do this again. So I'm just going to put a little bit of soap on here and start this process of scrubbing. And when I get this part done, we will come back. Okay, mixed results on this one. Let's take a look. So I have scrubbed and scrubbed this one. A lot of stuff has come out. That rusty looking stuff has. I think that right there might be down to the bare metal, but I'm not there yet. I'm going to put this one over on a burner and heat it up on medium heat until I've burned all the moisture off. And hold on, because we're going to look at another one. Our first experiment. So I hope that this is going to work. I explained about it in the kitchen just a little while ago. I have 3 pieces that I'm going to try to work with this oven cleaner, Easy Off. And as you may know, Easy Off contains lye. Now, I have 3 pieces here. Okay, now, I don't think I got right here very well. I'm going to do that. I'm going to flip it over. And now I'm going to do the inside, making sure I get every surface. This one is a Wagner ware out of Sydney. I'm going to now give it a really good coating on the inside, see if we can get rid of that and right down to the metal. All right, now the next thing is we are going to wrap these up. Here is another pan that I sprayed oven off on yesterday afternoon. So it also had such a buildup of the seasoning, and you can see I'm making a big mess on the counter. So now I'm going to spend some time washing this one. Let's see what it looks like after a first rinse. All right, we'll just give this a little soaping here and see if we can get all this stuff off, or if we're going to need to give it another round. Okay, still has some of that manufacturer's coating on it, but a lot of that has been taken right off. Well, it came off a lot easier, but It doesn't look pretty on the inside. It's all mottled. I think there's some more remnants of some of the seasoning there. Okay, I am going to go get the other two that I used oven off on and clean them up. And I'll bring you back when I have all of the pieces set out here and let you know what I've decided, what I think that we need to do as the next step here. So see you in a little while. Here are the results from today's work so far. This little two-piece set is like a big saucepan and a lid that doubles as a frying pan. Now this is a Cuisinelle, and I feel like it is quite a cheap piece of cast iron. The only thing that came off with the oven cleaner was just blackish stuff, and probably a layer or two of polymerized fat is all. I have only used these a half a dozen times, so they are fairly new, but they are now more silvery than black, and this bumpy covering was not touched by the oven off, and so I'm just going to leave it. It is not worth my time to try to get this smooth, not worth Jim's time either. And so we're just I'm gonna season this one as is, and we'll use it this way. Okay, these two pans are cool. Well, they're still warm, but they're not too hot for me to touch. This is my favorite one. This is the Wagner Ware. It turned out pretty well, but it still has some modeling here, some places. It feels very smooth on the inside, but I don't like all of that staining. And so, especially on the outside, you can see some of the seasoning is still there. On the underneath side, it's still there. And so this one needs some more work before it gets seasoned. This one we did talk about a little bit, and same thing here. It's not down to the metal yet, and so I need to get some finer grade steel wool to get after this. And here's the back. There's this stain right here, and I'm not sure what that is either. So both of these need more work. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do with both of these pans is I am going to give them another coat of the oven off to see if I can get down to a little bit closer to the metal. So we will do that today. So this video is going to be in installments over several days. So we'll see you at the next time, whatever that might be. Here we are at day 3 of our cast iron experiment, and take a look at our 4 pieces. This larger frying pan is the one that had one session in the self-cleaning oven, and then one session with the oven cleaner easy off, and then it wasn't still quite ready, and so I gave it a second treatment with the easy off, and it's as good as it's going to get. I think we're down to the bare metal. I'm a little concerned because what I uncovered here was a previous owner, because I don't remember where I got this one, but it wasn't us. A previous owner had taken a drill with a wire brush on it, and there are some grooves right here in this little corner. And so I'm not going to mess with those. I'm not going to try to get those out of it. We're just going to season and season, and ultimately those will be covered up. The back looks pretty good. We still have this this rust spot, this stain, and I couldn't get that off, so it's just going to stay. So I think all in all, this is pretty good. The cooking surface is quite smooth. This one, this stubborn little thing, it has some staining, but this is so smooth, which is really nice. I did 3 treatments of Easy Off with this one, and then a 4th treatment to try to get the ridges off. There was some black here that I couldn't get off, and I just can't get all of it off. So since the ultimate color is going to be black, I'm just going to leave it. But what I really like here is how smooth this is. And then pieces 3 and 4 are this match set with the manufacturer's lumpy surface. And because this is not a favorite, and I'm not going to spend the time on it, I'm just going to season this one as is. So here is our first step. My oven, you may hear it in the background, has been preheated to 200 degrees. Without doing anything, we're going to put all 4 of these pieces in the oven at 200 degrees for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. Back in 15 minutes. All right, so I have just pulled this piece out of the oven. It's 200 degrees, and I'm dipping my little rag into, this is Crisco, and that is what I'm going to use for seasoning. And I'm just going to wipe a layer on every surface. Now once I get the Crisco on, I'm going to go back over everything and I'm going to wipe off every single bit of it. Now of course it all isn't going to come, but I'm wiping as if every part of it is going to come off. And back this goes in the oven. All right, this is my big pan Crisco rag. All right. All right, this is very different than that other one. All right, now the wiping. I'm going to get it all off. I don't want any of this to pool and then to solidify into that polymer. I'm going to finish the last one off camera, and then I am raising the oven temperature to 300, and we will let all four be in the oven at 300 degrees for 15 minutes. That is not long enough to polymerize the oil, which is exactly what we want. We want to see how it does after 15 minutes at 300. So I'll see you when we're taking those out after 15 minutes at 300. I am getting excited. Look at this one. It's been in the 300 oven for 15 minutes. So now we're going to do the same thing as before. Give it a Crisco treatment all over and wipe it all out. Now I'm just going to show this one. I'm not going to bring you through all four pieces. All right, I can tell that it is handling this just a little bit differently than before. So, all right, I'm getting a double layer of these towels so that my hands are more protected here. So it's still, a lot of it's still coming up, so that's good. All right, this last step then is to put it back in the oven at 400 degrees, and this time for 2 hours. Now, I am going to check after 15 minutes to see if there is anything that is pooled here so that I can get that up quick before it polymerizes.
Polymerizes, you got it. You got it. Say it again.
Polymerizes. Okay, so back in the oven, and we will then, after 2 hours, I'm just going to turn the oven off, and they stay in that oven until they're completely cool. So I'll bring them back and show you at the end of this first round of seasoning. Most likely, we're going to be doing this 2 and possibly 3 times with this complete process. So we will see how they look after the first one. So we will see you in a day or 2. Well, it is another day, and because I only have very short times to work on this project after I get home from work, it's likely to take several more days. So I wanted you to see the results after the first treatment of seasoning. First of all, this little set right here is just plugging along, and I'm not too concerned about it. These frying pans, I'm very, very pleased with how they turned out, especially this one. This one still is showing some irregularities or some imperfections here. I'm hoping that with successive treatments it will be better. This came today from a place where I ordered it. It's a little 8-inch pan. It is a Lodge chef's frying pan, chef's skillet, and it has the manufacturer's non-stick coating on it that's all lumpy bumpy. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. I may strip it down too because I really like them to be very smooth. Now this is my other project. This is a 12-inch Dutch oven, and it is in pretty sorry shape. Not as sorry as I have seen on some other channels that they specialize in refinishing, but this one is marred on the inside and stained, and it's layered and layered with seasoning efforts. And so I am going to do this one as well. One of the things that I have learned is that I much prefer the easy off method rather than putting it in the oven for the automatic cleaning cycle. So I'll be doing this one as well, and maybe this one, and then with the frying pans at least I'm going to do at least 2 more seasoning processes. I think I'll just do one more with this other one over here and call it good. So I will bring you back when I'm done with everything and we can see the final results. So see you sometime, I think, in this decade. It has been a full week, and I have been working on this after work almost every single day, and I can't wait to show you the results. I am so pleased. It is not perfect, but you know what? This is my first time refinishing cast iron, and I am pleased. So here we go. Let's start right here with the back row. So I have this 2-piece set right here, and it has been seasoned now twice, and it is okay. This is my brand new little Lodge 8-inch chef's skillet, and I did go ahead and refinish this one. I started this one in the oven on the automatic cleaning cycle, and then I also did some oven off on this. It did not take the texture off, which for this time it's okay. I was not wanting to go to the next step of getting a cut wire brush and smoothing everything out. Maybe I will do that next time. I just needed to get my feet on the ground with the simpler procedures first. So these 2 are fine. I'm going to set them over here. These 3 are the ones that I am most excited about. I just took a couple of them out of a 400-degree oven, so I'm going to put on my protective glove here. This one is my 10-inch, and I am a little disappointed in how this one turned out. When I took everything completely off, it has some divots and some mars on the bottom, and this is one that when I get more proficient with a cut wire brush I will definitely redo this one, but for now it's okay. And the more seasoning builds up, the more these are going to disappear anyway. This was my favorite pan, so I'm hoping to build more seasoning up on that one really fast. This one is cool. It came out yesterday. This one is absolutely gorgeous. I love how this one has turned out. And so much of the yucky stuff came out of this just fine. It also has some little divots and some dings, but it's old. And so it's had hard wear, I think, but it's beautiful. And I have actually used it a couple of times. I'll tell you what I have learned on using cast iron through this past week of doing all of this. First of all, it is so important to preheat. Never put food in a cold cast iron pan because that's just asking for it to stick. And the second thing is always to lay a layer of oil or shortening or some kind of fat down, even if it's a very thin layer. This one, now this one is still hot. This one turned out fantastic. This one was so beat up and so grody on the inside, but look how beautiful it is. The inside of the lid turned out fine, and I can see there are places here where I can see where coals have been set, and that didn't come all the way off, but it still looks really good. I am so pleased with how this one turned out. If you remember, it was pretty awful on the inside. And this one has taken 1 session in the self-cleaning oven plus 2 sessions with the oven off to get everything off that I was able to get off. But it has turned out fantastic. One of the things that I really do appreciate about this process is that it goes in increments. You start in a 200-degree oven with no fat, and then you bring it out, it's hot. the metal has expanded. You put your first layer of fat in and then put it in at 300 degrees for another 15 minutes. Bring it out, wipe it all down again, put another layer on and wipe. And so building up a little at a time gives me the opportunity that if things are starting to pool and starting to form that the polymer with the oil, I can get that off quickly before it actually gets so hard that I can't move it anymore. So anyway, I am loving this process, and I'll get better at it as I go along. But what we're going to be doing now is we are going to be using these pots for some videos on off-grid cooking with cast iron. And I'm going to be making lots of different recipes and dishes so that we can see how these work. Sometimes I'll be outside, sometimes I'll just be right here with the butane stove. In any case, I am happy. This turned out really well, and I'm excited to start using these pots. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you at our next video.